Hello viewers, my name is Videlis Njoki and this is my sign name. Welcome to the Voice Show, where we have amazing and touching stories that will inspire you, and also we advocate for different groups of persons with disability. So viewers, today we have a very special guest, but before we continue with the show, kindly follow us on YouTube on The Voice Show, and also watch us on your screens at 8 p.m. every Friday, because we have different guests who come here to share their stories. So welcome. Hello. Kindly introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Hello to you viewers. My name is Mwange and that is my sign name. As you can see, I am deaf and I want to share with you my story a little bit. Thank you and welcome.
Welcome so much. So you're wondering, today there is no interpreter, so that shouldn't worry you because the both of us are deaf, so the only language you're going to use here is sign language. So kindly tell me more about yourself.
So
At the same time, you
you've
give us your
already
sign
forgotten
name.
my sign name. Sorry, that is my sign name. Because I think a long time ago I was extremely slim and my cheekbones were extremely exposed. So that's why I got my sign name. So my story started many years ago, and I think 63 years ago. So you see, I'm very old. I'm not young. But I think when I was born and growing up, I think 16 years I was hearing. Up to the age of 16, I was hearing. And then I was in Form 4, actually. I was in Form 4. Yeah, I was in Langata High School here in Nairobi in Form 4. Then at that time, I got sick. I thought it was, normal malaria. My parents, felt I haven't been sick for a long time. I wasn't experiencing a lot of sickness. I used to be a healthy kid. And then my parents saw that since I'm always healthy, they should just buy me medicine and then I'll be okay. But I continued. It became worse. And then I became extremely sick, and I started having challenges with my right ear. So I started even having balancing problems, like my posture. Then I also, there was a lot of vibrations when there was loud noise. It really affected me. It was, and then now 18 and 19. How old are you right now? 18, or you are not even born yet? Okay. But that was back in Form 4. Then my life changed immediately after that sickness. Then when I became deaf now, people in our village, I was the only deaf person. So I also thought, since in the village there was no other deaf person, I also thought I'm the only person in the world who is deaf and different, you see. Because I thought, then after many years, from 1997 and I think 1998, then this was the first time now I met another deaf person, because I was working in Embakasi here in Nairobi. Now when I was working there in Embakasi, in building and construction, because I used to, now when we were working there, I used to communicate just through through mouthing and that. Then later, then I saw another deaf person coming, and then I was introduced to this deaf person for the first time. This person, he knew sign language, but for me, I had not learned sign language, because you see, before I was hearing and then I became deaf, so that means I did not grow up knowing sign language. So I used to just try it, and then now, so I used to like write different things for him. Boy, things like easy things like boy, I used to just write down. But then this guy wondered, how don't you know sign language? Then he was like, how can he help Mwangi now? Then he said, since Saturday you're not working, come to my office, then I will show you, there's a group of deaf people there where you can interact and then learn how to, how to sign, and not just writing. And all this we did through writing. All this he told me through a written note. I took it, kept it, and then on Saturday, from Embakasi, I took a matatu direct to town, and now when I arrived in town, I searched for the office. The name was near, it was like the first office of, yeah, it was like the first office, and it was the first office that I got in that had was a story building. And then there I also met another person who was deaf as well. They were signing extremely fast and I could not understand what they were saying. Then another deaf person came also, started signing, and I was shocked. Everyone here is signing, but I'm the only one who cannot understand. So we had to even use writing as well. So there was another deaf person, Sifuna. I think his name was Sifuna. He died, I think, a long time ago. Yeah, that was his sign name. So he also came, showed me the boss, who was a Mzungu at this time. Who was a Mzungu at the time. And then there was also another interpreter as well. All were there working together. So we used to communicate through writing for a long time. So they asked me how I became deaf, when I became deaf. And then they said, they insisted I have to learn sign language so that I look for a group, join the group, and then united together I'll learn slowly as we continue the interaction as well. So we stayed there for a while. Then there was a woman, that's a sign name. And also, please remember that ago in school, there wasn't any deaf person in school. So I didn't grasp any sign language that could have helped me. Then this lady advised me that I should, learn sign language, maybe get a place where I can get to learn sign language. So I continued, and then at the same time, 1989, 1989, yeah, there's a person who came from Korea to Kenya here, and they started a church for the deaf, where I think in Ngong, it was somewhere in Ngong there. So they called all the deaf to come on Sunday, because there was going to be food, there was going to be sharing some goodies. So I knew I have to reach there, because I also didn't know sign language, but I didn't also know where this place was. But since there was food there, I knew I had to make my way there. So first thing, my first aim was to interact to eat. The next one was to interact with the deaf, because there were many deaf people there.
So you mean all the deaf from Embakasi went to Ngong Road?
Yes, we all assembled there. So
they picked you up?
Yes, we were picked different places. Then in Matatu, we took a bus. We went together. There was eating, a lot of interaction, a lot of stories. Then we also, after full,
you were
kept
satisfied?
some. Yes. And then back home, carried some also take away as well. So meaning, with that, I continued interacting with the deaf and continued grasping a little bit of sign language. Then it was...
Which? The Kenya Council of Persons with Disability.
Yeah. Then later, later there was also another man, but he died a long time ago. He came also. Then I knew them together. We were all now interacting more. Then later, I think 1996, then I think we had a deaf union and a sports club then. Then I was also a deputy assisting as well there. So I don't want to continue it's a long story. I don't want to make it so long. But then later, we voted for him to become the sports club, and then pushed and advocated to become boss. Then I thought, but then later we saw that this boss was, not lazy, not working well. So we thought we should push another person as well. Then the voting was in the university in town. Now, while we were voting, when the results came out, there was a lot of contention about the results. And then later we thought maybe we should repeat.
Meaning politics started long time ago?
Yes. It did not start recently. So people have always been quarreling and quibbling about politics as well. Now then we repeated the voting exercise again. So my friend, he stayed out while the voting was being done, and then when he came back, then he was announced the winner. Then it was again a contention as well. There wasn't an agreement. Then we thought, better, let's do a handshake. Exactly. So you see, the deaf started this handshake a long time.
It didn't start recently. It started with the deaf.
No. The hearing people have just copied us, because that was our thing. We are the ones who started the handshake thing because of the contention. So our boss decided to become, they decided to share the position. One becomes the boss, another the deputy. And then in 1997 now.
1997?
Yes. Now, after the voting now was done, meaning that all are accepted, and now there was at least peace there. Now, then later, there was a lot of negativity, a lot of, issues that came back. So they wanted to kick me out as well, because we decided to come to Nyayo. So since I was a deputy, I couldn't, do football and all. There was a referee there. There was, there were officials there in the field.
So meaning you are to be responsible for being a referee in the field?
Yes. So, since I'm a leader also, I had to be there to maybe help in governing only. But I could not be the referee at this time. So...
For 1 year, you decided to resign?
Then myself, I decided to resign, to leave that position.
So viewers, let's have a short break, then we'll be back to continue with this amazing story, and also the deaf culture and how the deaf history runs. Welcome back, and let's continue with the amazing story here on the Voice Show. This story is very amazing because we are learning about the deaf group and their history, and also the deaf world, and also we are having to compare between the deaf world and the deaf world and the hearing world. So now you've given us history from the year 19 when you went to pick a letter.
Yeah,
Was
that
it
was
in
1992.
1992? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you came back home and you continued. So, and you also came back, you started contributing to the deaf community and also the sports. So now let's continue from where you stopped.
Yes. Now I was the deputy boss. We continued for a while, but then problems kept crippling up.
Politics.
Yeah, politics, as you know. And then sometimes, there was a time people supported me, but then later others started feeling jealous, to creep up. They used to pick up things from under, bring up things that are negative about me because of my history. Yeah. And then there were things like I do not support them, and my heart is not with them. Was like, it was all for my own benefit, but I kept all this. I was patient, and you know I wanted to just continue because, you see, my work, I was to govern the group. I was not to participate in some other things. So they decided, I thought it's better to explain my responsibilities. My responsibility was not to be there doing referees thing and officiating things, but I was just a governor. So they wrote a letter that I was given, and I accepted. I wrote a reply, gave back the letter. Then afterwards, I focused now more on church. Every Sunday, I used to go back to a church to interact with the deaf and to learn about the deaf politics. I not only sports alone. I focused also on, you know, football things, and then still there was also things that I learned about, because there was a lot of discrimination at the time, and I decided, let's start a group, our own, that we'll use to support each other to be able to grow. Then two deaf people. There was one who was called John. Then there was another one, Wasonga. I've forgotten the other one, but the two, yeah, that's his sign name. So they had a group for security for the deaf.
Security.
Yeah, they worked in GSU. You know, the
Yes,
group
I know.
company.
I know. Yes, I know. So the deaf work there.
Yes, they were working there as deaf. It was near our factory, I think, in
the
around
industry.
Nyayo there. Yeah, yes. So they used to come on Sunday to church PCA, and they're the ones I used to hear story from. Then John himself, that was his sign name. That's John. We used to interact a lot. Then he said, better we should make a group so that we can also be equal with the others, because deaf are maybe we should have maybe our own constitution to advocate for our own rights as well. So we wrote, 15 people signed, and then together we took it and made the petition. So for Deaf Kenya Union to make
The voice.
yeah now there was a chairman there. He was the chairman, and then I was to be the deputy as well. Then we presented our petition, and then we got a certificate for the organization. Then that's where problems started creeping up, because remember, that time, it's not the same as now, where there is internet, there is
Wi-Fi,
support,
emails.
there's computers and all. Yeah, but we had to give like physical documents. So
So
there was no sending
there
things
were no
like
email.
Yes. So you had to write yourself anything that you wanted. It will be a letter. You carry it yourself. You photocopy first, give different offices, moving through different offices, wait for answers, for replies later. Some were negative. Most were negative, actually. Members, were on my neck questioning what is the progress, what's the progress.
They are forcing you and
Yes,
pushing you.
yes. So I took a lot of heat at the time. Then we traveled together with John, and then we met one or two, sponsors. One was Kise.
From Denmark.
Yeah, sorry, Denmark. The sign name, I think that's the sign for that. Then we get one who agreed to support us, and then the other said no,
They said,
because Kenyan economy ago, I think, was strong, and we were comfortable in the offices. I could write very well, and there was a lot of profit. And then when we got, I think, what's the name? In Loresho, I think, in a place near Loresho, there was an office where the deaf used to meet. We used to
For work.
contribute, yes, for work. So this sponsor was the one who helped us a lot.
so they gave you money to start a business? Or?
Yes. So we used to have a business. That's where we used to get a little support. And then so we at the time, deaf people used to work only in the factories, and there was discrimination because they were paid very little money. So we decided we should maybe talk with the there was KCS. There was a bus long time ago. KBS, sorry. There was KBS. So we started handing out, the papers. That was, I think, 1990, moving forward that time. Then later, it changed and became, I think, yellow. Yes, exactly. Then later they changed red. Then later again changed color blue. Now that is during your generation, because ago it was a different color. Yeah. Then we thought, now this company, this travel transport company, I think might be able to, help us so that we can interact with the organization, and then we see a way forward.
So you communicated with KBS?
Yes, I applied to the company, the bus company, so that they could maybe give us half or a little
For
bit
tax or to free?
Yeah, for the fare, to reduce the fare for the deaf.
Or
so
half?
They accepted to slash some of it. So we said, okay. So we told all the deaf people, all the youth, that we give we had a book that we will write, names and numbers of people. Then we had even a stamp. There was a stamp.
Yes, a stamp.
Yeah, for KBS. So each were given that stamp. So if you enter in the bus, then when the conductor, the tout came and wanted to charge you, then you'd show the receipt. Then now once this information was out, many deaf people came, all lining. So we gave them. So it was, others sometimes would take other people's cards and then use those as their receipts to get. So when the bus came, and also some therefore also stubborn, because others were getting the service free with the receipts, then others without receipts started becoming very rude to the makangas in the bus. Then this issue was reported to the main office of the company, and soon all that we had done was blocked. The company and the government they now this because of this
They
stubbornness
terminated it.
they terminated that progress that we had made and that effort. So later on, because they didn't follow rules, because there were established rules and they didn't follow it, so we left and that was stopped. Then next was now the government, when Moi ordered that and I think it was NYS, I think a long time ago, so that people would work, the youth will go to NYS and start working. I think there was different buses. There were
in
different buses.
Nyandarua.
Yeah, it wasn't for. They said people with disability will be able to use the buses free of charge. Yeah, so many people were using that bus. Yeah, so many people took the advantage.
So
just wondering they were not working.
Started wandering around and not working.
Yes, because now things were free because they were enjoying very free services were
I
many.
understand.
Yeah, so the government knew this. They knew, okay, true. With this the deaf group, there is a true challenge here that we have to solve. So after many years,
so they just enter the car.
Yes,
and just
together,
travel. Then
going.
they come back.
Yes, exactly. Westlands, different places, and then because it was free, so
that they were really misusing that chance and opportunity.
Exactly. So a lot of complaints came. People were upset because of this behavior and all. And then now when there was this support,
it was free.
Yeah, it was free. And then when they were asked to charge, they were saying they're deaf, this is discrimination and things like that. So this continued for a long time. The deaf continued with this, and then they now claiming their rights.
My right.
Yeah, but also this was a very big problem because you see it was a behavior that was really affecting them. Other people will look at this and say it's truly the deaf have a lot of problems.
They say that people with disability now, this is not a good behavior from them.
Yes, and then later the government accepted to give a waiver, tax waiver. You remember the government decided to give people with disability tax waiver. So you remember the stories ago when hearing people used to give the deaf their money to buy them things because of the tax waiver. Yeah, that was happening ago.
I'm very much shocked. I thought that it has started recently, so it's something that started long time ago, meaning that this behavior has been a culture and should stop.
Yes, we have to support one another, and I think this was a culture that is not good, that it needs to change because the world is not the same as it was before.
So when that finished, what happened?
Now, time passed.
So when each person started complaining, so what did you decide? Did you call the deaf and discuss it with all of them? Or what happened? Did you take the complaint to KBS? Or whom did you inform? And when you informed, how did they solve it?
Yeah, so since the complaints kept on coming, I decided to call our own meeting in order to, explain how to follow the rules of KBS, because we wanted all of us to benefit, and it was also the government helping us together with KBS, you see. So yeah.
So at the same time there was problem.
Yes, the same problem. Now some of the deaf who were there, they understood, decided to follow the rules, but then others ignored completely. They were completely stubborn and started causing problems. Now, meaning moving on, we had a very big challenge with the hearing. So the person who was responsible to maybe the bank and things like that, it was now reduced.
And
they used to give money. And then our sponsor, the Denmark guy, went back to, to Denmark, and now there was a challenge with rent, things at the office there was no money. And then now with all these challenges, problems also, more problems came in. But then we thank God things changed, because when the complaints kept on coming, then when our Mzungu sponsor went back to Denmark, now wondered what should we do. So I thought it's better to this problem. I think it was I thought it's better I let leave this position, and then I get another union, a boss. So together we were together with them. So we thought, with the new boss now, we thought let's make we cooperate together. And then now our office, we decided to move it to Mombasa. Then later on, it changed to more politics. Slowly by slowly, it moved. I started leaving politics, started slowly transitioning to, church and focusing on church. Then my friend who we were always with together, so we were advocating for all the deaf to work together and not be separate. So in my mind and attitude started changing. And now in Mombasa, there was an office in Mombasa, there was an office in Nairobi. So in the Nairobi office, we used to encourage each other so that we could continue with the leadership well, and continue working and moving towards the church as well.
Viewers, I hope and believe that this story, you have learned something from it. So let's have a short break and come back soon. Viewers, welcome back, and let's continue with our motivating story. And I hope this story being shared, it's motivating and you're learning something from it, because it's more of deaf culture and deaf history. And our today's visitor has a lot of history, and his story is motivating. So you say that you transitioned your world of politics, and gradually you decided to move to a different subject, and that was the church, right? So what made you transition to church and leave politics, sports? So what made you change your mind?
Now, this happened all by accident. I did not plan it, because you see, when I was with the ago, I was a little bit. I was hearing. Now I used to love listening to the radio, the news in the radio, guitar, and then now when I became deaf, so meaning I was a little bit heartbroken, because all of the things that I loved, I couldn't be able to enjoy them, singing, the news, what happened in the world. I used to miss all that now. So when in my mind, I was empty. I didn't know how to, what was happening, how to talk with family, because they couldn't, there was now communication barrier a lot, and they didn't know a lot of science. So it was mostly writing. My mother also didn't know how to write very well. So I missed a lot of information. But I liked to know things, because information was better, gotten direct. So, because information is how a person will grow. Because I was wondering now, how will they teach me? So now I decided to read a lot, many books. I read a lot of books so that I could know and, gain a lot of knowledge. A lot of knowledge. So that was ago when I was hearing. It was not a lot, because before I was talking, but now when I was hearing, I used to listen more, but now when I became deaf, now the reading was now the only way I could get a lot of knowledge. So I read different books. In my own house, I think I have a library of different books, different topics as
So
well.
you changed different libraries to get knowledge.
Yeah, there were history books, health books, books about God, different books, as I've said. So I read all those, and then culture, my culture, I continued with the same, and then I joined the church PCA. That is, there was also I continued reading also about politics.
Sports.
Yes, there was also deaf sports there, but then I think in 19 I think in I think some 1990s I read a book that changed my mind, because this book was talking about God. Because and then I was
Which
shocked.
book?
Yeah. So after reading this book, before I read this book, I did not want to hear anything about God. Anything about God was a no. I When I saw people going to church, I always felt sorry for them, because I thought they were very stupid doing that. You see, when I went
So I'm
to
also
PCA,
wondering.
I was not going because of God. I was going because there were deaf people there where I could benefit and learn about sign language. I was not going there for church and to eat as well. That was the food was also a motivating
And
factor.
because also you said that it was fair, there was free transport, there was a car which took you and brought you back home.
Yes, exactly. So that was very few people were motivated to go to church because of God at that
Continue.
time. Yeah, so I kept on reading. I read this book. This book is the one that changed my mind. Because before, when I became deaf, I got detached from God and completely disconnected. Yes.
So you stopped the time that
Yes, I stopped.
you became deaf. You'd stop.
Before I was a Catholic, I was a staunch Catholic and a member. Then I stopped. So I became angry, and I became why God gave me this deafness. So then I continue. When I read this book, it truly I truly wondered if God is truly there, then why did he give me this condition of deafness? Because I read different books deep, trying to understand the reason for this. So yeah, so but yeah, reading the book, I read different things, but I could not still understand why God gave people, different disabilities and deafness, even deafness as well. But moving on,
So now
yeah, I wanted to know specifically why, and read the book searching for answers. But then later I said, after now understanding, I said, sorry, Father, please excuse me for before I didn't know what to do.
you've seen viewers, his story is very motivating through. And do you know what? This is not the end. We'll continue with his story in the next Friday in part B at 8 p.m. Watch the voice show on Science TV and bye.